mess. Wonder if I can hear this at all. Probably not. Too windy. Too many cars. So I'm an American working in Shanghai, China, and on in early January, I decided to take a little vacation for a couple of weeks in Cambodia and Southeast Asia, and then about a week into my trip, I was on an island in Cambodia when the news about the virus broke out, and I had to be back in Shanghai on February 1st. So, needless to say, I was watching the news very carefully every day, wondering what my company would do and whether I had to go back or not. And so, literally, like, God, I forget the exact timing, but a 2 or 3 days before my flight back, we got official news that my company was suspending operations in China until further notice, and at least through February. So anyway, my little 2-week vacation in Cambodia has turned into an exile. Oh yeah, just was gonna say, technically, I guess I've been running from this virus for a couple of weeks since it hit the news and started scaring everybody about travel and going to China. And then, but officially, I have been in exile for, this would be my second day because I was supposed to fly back yesterday. So when I got the news that I didn't have to go back to China, I was very relieved. But then a lot of options opened up for me, so I didn't know, whether to stay in Cambodia, where it's very cheap to live and, quite, wonderful weather and food and people, as you can see here, very tropical. And so that was an option. Another option would be to go to explore Southeast Asia somewhere, maybe, by motorcycle or backpacking or whatever. Another option was going to be get on a plane and go home to the US. But honestly, I was a little paranoid about getting on planes and going through airports in Asia, since that seemed to be the main mode of transport for the virus getting around the world. So I decided to stay here and ride it out. And then actually I have some friends in Vietnam, and I thought, well, Vietnam would be a cool place. I'll spend a little time in Cambodia and a little time in Vietnam. So I applied for my Vietnam visa a few days ago, and I'm waiting. I think they are closed for the Chinese New Year holiday. So anyway, I'm waiting for that to go through, and then I found out that Vietnam is banning people who have been in China recently. So I don't know if they're going to consider my departure date, January 12, from China as recent. So I'm waiting to see if I get that visa or not, and I may actually have to stay in Cambodia, and maybe I could go travel up to Laos or something, which I have not done for a long time. So anyway, I'm in a little bit of limbo. I've just been staying in a guest house for $10 a night with a lovely family, and they cook a lot, and I chat with the kids and the wife and drink beer with them there sometimes and whatever. But I've just been kind of like paying 2 nights at a time. But now I've been there for a total of like 8 nights already, waiting to figure out what's going on. And I'm in this little town called Kampot in southern Cambodia, and it's got a thriving little expat scene, a lot of little bars and restaurants and cafes, and pretty big tourist destination with mountains nearby and a national park and lots of water and a wide, beautiful river that has a tidal flow, so it flows upriver with the incoming tide, and it's kind of saline, a little bit of salt water, so it's really refreshing to swim, but not in this little canal. This mangroves are everywhere here, so they're very beautiful. So I've just been paying a couple of nights and then deciding what should I do next, and then I'm kind of getting comfortable here, and so I decided to just I keep paying more and more until at least I get my Vietnam visa or not. So while I'm here, I've just kind of been observing the Wuhan virus and how it's affecting people here. And of course, Cambodia is a big destination for tourism from China, so people are kind of worried. Oh, is there going to be an outbreak here or whatever? So far, there has been only one confirmed case, at least officially. So I don't know if there's more than that. Nobody knows whether to trust the numbers released by anybody, any of the governments. It has been interesting because as the virus kind of got, expanded and spread, everybody starts freaking out and they want the masks and the hand sanitizer. So it's really funny. So like a few days before, right when that hit the news, but it still wasn't a really, really big story yet, there was hand sanitizer in all the pharmacies. And I already had a tiny little bottle about this size. And so I was like, oh, I don't need hand sanitizer. I've got some. I can buy some later. And then like 2 days later, I went, and all of the pharmacies that I knew in the little town were sold out of hand sanitizer, except for I found one that had these giant bottles that were marked up like ridiculously, like $12 for a bottle that would normally be about $3. So anyway, there's been a run in Cambodia, as in other Asian countries and China for sure, on hand sanitizer and masks. So I did get a little pack of masks. I gave half of these to the family of my guest house, because they have 3 kids who go to school, and so I've got a small pack here. It's probably about 20, and I haven't used them yet. They're really just for if you feel sick, so they're not a protection. They're just more of a preventative measure if you feel like you have symptoms. So anyway, I'm gonna keep a couple, and I'm gonna give the rest away as people, if I hear somebody needs them or something. Hoarding masks apparently is an issue that needs to be avoided. And then I noticed one lady in a pharmacy I went to, and I said, do you have masks? And she said yes, and she handed one to me. And then I said, well, do you have a pack? And she goes, I do, but I'm only selling them individually because I want everybody to have a fair chance to have a mask. So anyway, whatever. I've got too many now. I'm going to try to do something appropriate with them. And if I find out some clinic or hospital or something doesn't have enough, I'll donate those. And in the meantime, I've had my own little health scares. When I was staying in one little kind of nice resort with landscaped ponds and swimming pool and a swim-up bar and all that stuff, one night I was trying to pet a frog that was sitting on a stone, and a fish called an alligator gar, native to South America and North America, and which I grew up swimming around in the rivers around my hometown, Birmingham, Alabama. One actually jumped out of the water and bit my finger with razor sharp teeth. Thought I was going to bleed to death. Ended up in the emergency room at midnight getting stitches, and that was really nasty. So I've been nursing wounds from that. The animal, the alligator gar, was apparently imported into Asia. And now I don't know why it was brought here or if it was just an accidental invasive species, but now the owner of the hotel told me it's used as a decorative fish because they glide around in the shallow pond and very gracefully. And so I was a little pissed off because I was like, well, you have kids here and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, it's never happened before, so I'm not going to put a warning sign. He goes, everybody was freaking out. The doctor doing my stitches was freaking out. He was like, I've never seen a fish bite injury before. Yeah, it's pretty weird. I know, a lot of my colleagues were out of town when this hit, so they weren't able to go back and were much relieved. And then some colleagues were there, and I think all of my colleagues are safe, the ones who stayed in China during all this. And so some of them are now wanting to leave because they don't have to work, but airlines are canceling flights to some countries in Europe and North America. So some of my colleagues are trapped somewhat, but they're okay. Nobody's complaining. They're just staying at home and watching a lot of TV. And by the way, they said food delivery services are working pretty normally in Shanghai and probably Beijing, the big cities. So nobody's starving to death, or it's just really weird how this has kind of is so concentrated in Wuhan and Hubei province. And even though there are a lot of cases outside that province, most of the dangerous cases seem to be, most of the deaths are in that area. And so far, only one outside of China. And I think that was today in the Philippines. Considering the number of poisonous snakes they have in Cambodia, deadly ones, and alligator gar fish that jump out of the water and bite your fingers, I don't know who the hell would use this little ladder to go down into a mangrove, into this mangrove of swampy water. Damn. Maybe it's only for getting out of boats, I don't know, but it's pretty scary in here. Alright, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. And this is Brando in the Wuhan flu Exile. Over and out in Cambodia in a mangrove.